No, that's busy. Roll call.
Commissioner Butcher,
Here.
Commissioner Campos,
Here.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Here.
Commissioner Gandy,
Here.
and Mayor Trujillo.
Here. Invocation and pledge will be led by Commissioner Sanchez.
Amen. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for giving us this opportunity to be here this evening. We ask that you will be with us as we go through our city meeting, Lord. Help each one of us in the decisions we make, and it be good for our city, for our community, for our people that we serve. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. Thank you for those men and women across the face of the earth that do protect us, as well as those that are here that do protect us, our policemen, our firemen. Thank you for our city commissioners, for what they do. Thank you for city manager, all the staff, and all the city workers, that you will just keep them and bless them, Lord, in every way. We ask this in the name of Jesus, thy Son. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
We have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Have another motion.
I'd like to make a motion for the consideration of minutes on April 22nd, 2019.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on to Commissioner and staff reports. Wyatt?
Mayor and Commissioners, just a little update. Main and Avenue D was completed about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. They are still waiting on a completion of another project before they can get to the one down one in front of Cornerstone and on the main street. Other than that, 17th Street ADA started today. We're doing ADA improvements to the corners of Jefferson, Jackson, Polk Street, and 2 of the alleyways down towards the new fire station, with sidewalk from Polk all the way down to the new fire station. They started that today, I believe. Completion date is June 17th, and it's a grant funding that we're going to get reimbursed for. Other than that, just still trying to get some other projects going, and hopefully CDBG will be starting.
Yesterday. But I'd just like to say to all the ladies here, Happy Mother's Day, and I hope you enjoyed your day yesterday. God bless each one of you. That's all I'm going to
Jalen, you didn't have
No, sir.
And thank you, Commissioner. And Commissioner Bernard?
I'd just like to give a shout out to all the city employees for cleanup day, or Keep Lovington Beautiful, I call it cleanup day. But thank y'all for all y'all did and showing up, and we made a little progress, but thank you guys for that.
I'd like to also thank EDC for Cinco de Mayo and so forth. Had the privilege of being out there for a little bit, ate some good foods and so forth. Thank you, Evelyn, and your staff for all what they did for us. I know the hotels were full because I had some friends come in. They said, hey, there's no place to stay, so it was good. That was a good sign. Thank you. Commissioner?
Yeah, same here. I'd like to reiterate that. Evelyn, thank you. And your family, because I understand they helped out quite a bit as well. I was out of town, but I saw videos and it was jam-packed. Any idea how many people were out
there? Truthfully, I couldn't tell you. I mean, we spent a lot of time in the back trying to get everything situated. A lot of folks were like, hey, we saw you, but it was like, didn't see a lot of people, but we did run into some problems while we were there. The generator went out for about an hour and a half, and it was pretty scary. There was 10, 15 folks in the back calling people. Wanted to thank TWS too. There were some guys out there that they called Scotty's son, and his son came. But what the rig that he had was too powerful for what we had, so it would have blew out their system, so they couldn't use it. The closest generator that I could find was in Artesia, Roswell. So even if I went to go pick it up, there was just no way that I could have made it back on time. But we were able to find a solution. The county did have their inflatable out there that day, so we used their 2 generators, the generator that was on my RV, and we used a light tower, so we connected it to a bunch of generators that were out there, and we were able to make it work. Even though we had 15 minutes of rain and it was 50 degrees, I still had a ton of people. Some people said that it was more this year than last year, but I couldn't tell you. But it was a really good turnout. It was really good. 30 vendors. Bingo went really well. We had 5 contestants for the asado cook-off. It went really well. Can't complain. That's the only problem that we ran into. So, other than that, everything else was great.
So how do we remedy that for next year?
There's a solution possibly on the agenda.
Okay.
Also, I wanted to thank the staff from the city. They worked all night long. When we left the event at 2:30 in the morning, they were actually already gone, and the park looked fabulous. I mean, they worked throughout the whole night. All the problems, if we ran into some dark areas, all we had to do was call one of the workers, and they would immediately move a light tower to help accommodate the lighting out there. But they did an outstanding job.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all.
Commissioner Gandy?
I don't have anything.
Chief?
Nothing to report, sir.
Chief?
Nothing to report, sir.
James?
No, sir.
Patrick? Thank you, sir. All right, moving on to public comment.
Hello, my name is Melinda. I'm with the Lovington Youth Center, and we have a couple of things we want to share with you. First of all, I have Krista Goff here with me, and she's with the County Extension Office.
Hello, gentlemen. How are y'all doing, and women? Many of you know about the Iron Chef program that I've been doing at the Youth Center, and a couple of you have agreed to be our judges. Thank you, Mr. Butcher. Thank you, Mr. Trio, and thank you, Mr. Williams. It will be at 6 o'clock on Thursday, and if y'all want to come and bring your families and help support these kids that are trying to do this thing, what we're doing is we're getting them prepared so that they can compete in the Iron Chef competition during the fair and rodeo. So we have a youth edition that we do there. And the theme is Italian, so come hungry.
And I would like, the Lovington Youth Center, we have a lot of things going on. We're preparing for our summer camp. This year, our theme is Out of This World. We kind of got together with the library, and we're doing the same theme, trying to get that kind of unified. Our summer kickoff party will be June 3rd at the park at 4 p.m. and we'll have hot dogs and hamburgers, water slides and bouncers and all kinds of stuff. Snow cones, the fire truck will be there. And so we invite everybody to come out and bring your kids. Our registration has started for our summer camp. We have 2 sessions, one in June and one in July. They're $25 a person per session, and we have a good program set up for them. We also have something for our teens that will be in the afternoons, Monday through Thursday, and kind of the same thing we do with the little ones, we'll do at a higher level with the big ones. I also want to thank some of our sponsors for this year so far. We have Miss Virginia Spears, Estacado Credit Union, Michael's Prescription, Holly Frontier, ConocoPhillips, Battle Energy, Double R Pipe and Supply, Templeman and Crutchfield, McDonald's, and Norley General Hospital have all generously sponsored our camp so far, and so I want to thank all these sponsors. Thank you.
Thank you.
And also, the Lee County Extension Office will be doing a program on Thursdays at the Youth Center in conjunction with the Youth Center. So,
Thank you, ladies. Anybody else?
Hi. So Leslie Bolt with the Chamber of Commerce, and I tell you what, we are going to keep the kids very happy and full of activities and stuff. So what better way for our teenagers to go along with that? And since everyone's going to be at the youth center on Thursday, we're doing a teen job fair. So we have 14 companies coming to the youth center at 4:30 to 6:30 to have applications there. We're doing it in conjunction with EDC, Evelyn, and Mara with Main Street. And of course, Melinda's gonna be there at the youth center. So we're bringing in the Lee Theater, McDonald's, Old Jack's, the Core is coming. We have Sonic, we have Sarah's Place, and a number of other businesses that we know hire 16 and up. So we wanted to really, with the mission of the chamber, is reach out to the community and reach out to our teens. We're going to be there to help them with applications. We're going to help them with tips and stuff. So this will be a great way to get our young people their feet wet in finding a job. So again, that's also Thursday at the youth center from 4:30 to 6:30. So thank you. Yes, sir.
Is the city also involved in that?
Yes, the city is involved. The city hires for, from what I understand, the pool, and is it the cemetery also, I believe, hires at 16. So the city will be there too. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Anybody else?
My name is Vernon Dent, and we live at 1300 North Main. And I know that it has been stated that y'all are going to change the code, the zoning for Main and D. I know it has been verbally agreed on. What I would like to see is a copy of it in writing. I know that y'all have said you're going to change the wording on it to where we could still sell our home as residential. But if it's not in writing, it did not happen. I would like to see something in writing before it's voted on, please.
You have a copy of that?
Mayor and Commissioners, I don't have a printed copy. We've had, Jaylene, do you have one up front?
No, I don't.
I mean, we could print one out, but it has been available on the website, publicly available for a month and a half now.
Yeah, well, everybody don't do computers. If I could come by or something other, just to get a copy of it so I'll know what is
Well,
going.
It is going to be voted on tonight, that's why I say.
Okay, well, you know.
Maybe James can help you.
That was it. We have one right here, sir.
And I clearly understand why you or anybody else would have their emotions run pretty high when it involves their home. So we clearly understand that. That's why we did address that. Because I would clearly feel the same way. So, thank you, guys. Anybody else with public comment?
Barry Miller. I just want to state my opposition to 569. I think that freedom is a very tedious thing, and I feel that this will infringe on my freedoms by having these laws in this area. And I really wish you would reconsider, because if I were up there, I would have to hate freedom to vote for this. I'm serious.
Does your property, I thought your property was county, but just not county, right? With your
No, but if this passes, I'm going to try to get it county. I'm right next door to county. My fence line is theirs.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So, what is your thinking on this, and how does it infringe on your freedoms?
Well, anytime you have the government telling you how much paint can peel and when to paint it and whether the colors coordinate or not, it's just government run. And that's not freedom. If government's running it, I'm not.
So, and I'm not wishing to debate, I'm just trying
Yeah, I
to
understand.
throw some argument here.
Yeah.
So, everyone has a different ideal of what standards are. Could we agree on that? Your standards may be a little higher than mine.
I
Mine
doubt
may be
it,
a
I
lot
doubt
lower
it,
than
but
yours.
yeah, okay,
So,
yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of eyesores in town, and we can all agree on it. But that person's vision of what is acceptable and what your vision might be, may be yards apart. Can we agree on that?
Oh, sure.
So if we're just trying to standardize something to a certain degree, so we have consistent flow throughout the community, I don't see that being an infringement on your rights.
Well, because.
It's just trying to keep a standard where we all can live with it, where it's not too low, it's not overbearingly high. I mean, if you take the
Right.
same example and use Santa Fe, we didn't say you had to stucco your home, had to meet a certain criteria. Now, they're a little pushy. We're just asking a few things to try to keep a zone a certain way so we don't have this hodgepodge of everybody can do whatever they want. Hobbs has no zoning, Houston has no zoning, so you could build a multi-million-dollar house next to a pigsty and we're all okay.
Yeah,
So,
exactly, that's freedom.
but those
Yeah.
two standards don't really go together. And we're just trying to make it even flow. So that's my understanding of it.
Right.
So I'm just trying to understand how that infringes on.
Okay, well, in my opinion, some people who have a real high standard, they have the right to establish a community and have a homeowners association or properties owners association. And when people move in, they sign an agreement to live by all of these rules. From the size of a flag or a picket, political poster they can put out front, all that's agreed on before they move in. And that ensures that everybody with that standard lives by it. The rest of us are free. And anytime you try to standardize, what is the standard? You run into that. Yours may be miles from where mine is. And just because you think that I'm ugly doesn't mean I'm going to get plastic surgery. You see what I'm saying? Because that's my individual right. So my property may be ugly, but it's mine. And if you pass this, I will not feel secure in my property. I won't. I think as Abraham Lincoln said, any man willing to surrender freedom for security deserves neither. But people fought and died for this freedom. And by y'all just sitting up there and go, and it's gone. And you were talking about Santa Fe. You're just taking a little bite than Santa Fe took.
Well, it's true.
But it's all bites out of the freedom.
Here's another deal, though. So we have zoning, and so we have 4 classifications of zoning, and our third classification, which is commercial zoning, is very broad. Okay, the paintbrush is like this. Our first zoning, A, is very narrow. B is a little wider. When we get to C, pretty much, you know. And then we get to D, well, just about anything goes. But what has happened over the decades of freedom and, you know, my rights, they've taken that and abused it and now turned commercial property into something that is not commercial. It's residential. And so they've twisted and turned because they've either flown under the flag of, I didn't know, or it's best to ask for forgiveness, not for permission. So we're just trying to narrow that scope a little bit. And I understand your concerns, but as a commissioner, mine is trying to give the town a certain look or appeal, you know, that may not agree with you.
Right.
Or other people in the community, but we're trying to draw in people that would find something attractive, you know? I mean, there's a certain house that I pretty much would agree that a majority of us in here would consider an eyesore. But he considers it his home, his property, and, you know, stuff's falling over the fence and stacked up.
Is it mine?
No. I don't know where your property is.
No, his place is pretty nice.
But I'm just saying, you know, I'm pretty sure you would turn your stomach also. But it's that simple thing that, you know, we're trying to encompass a certain look when you get into a certain district of our town, instead of a hodgepodge, you know, mix and match. And I understand, your property will always be a residential area when you sell it, until somebody somewhere down the line decides to change that.
See,
And
I
make
think-
it a commercial business of, you know, selling potpourri or whatever then it changes. But until that time, your property's your property.
Well, before I was ever there, I've only been there about 27, and before that, there was a business there. And that's, you know, and it's on Main Street. So does that mean that I still qualify as commercial?
Well,
Even though it was
from the way I
decades
understand it,
before?
it's out of set date, whatever today's date is, or whatever date we deemed. Anything after that, anything before that, it's kind of got the, well, it's there type. of
Yeah,
deal.
because I use everything for storage that I've got.
I understand,
I've
we
got-
have several places like that.
I've got 4 kids, I have a lot of junk. But- And it all ends up at my place.
But I do appreciate your time and conversation.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you,
same here.
Commissioner Comp.
Yes, yes, sir.
Something else.
Yeah, you weren't here last time I came. I'm glad. You're my rep, right?
So, anyway, I was just thinking about this, that way back then, I used to live across the tracks.
Yeah.
Most Hispanics live across the tracks. And our colored people live across, Hispanic, they live together, you know, across the tracks. Then, back then, we had outhouses, you know, in the alley. Everybody had their own outhouse. And so what we're trying to do is change, if we'd have left it like that, outhouses, what would it be? But you know, my grandfather was one of the first persons to put a commode. He had made it a bathroom, and put it, he was the first that had a flushing commode. So anyway, if we did that all over town, just have outhouses, it wouldn't be, you know, people would be pretty upset, I'm sure. I mean, because we're just trying to improve the town by taking those out and doing something nice where it'd be more presentable for people. So this is kind of something like that.
Well, you know, that kind of falls under the deal carrot or the stick. You can dangle a carrot or you can hit them with a stick. And it seems to me, I'm going to get hit with a stick. There's not going to be any candy. And I think that some of the things y'all are doing is way outside of your scope. Because I think, you know, water, where I live, I consider that a failure on your part. All I've got is a 3/4 inch line all the way under Main Street. I can't have somebody buy it and put in a hotel. They say, oh yeah, 3/4 inch line, I can run a hotel. I have no access to sewer. Something else the city's responsible for. Like I said, you want to punish me because I don't look pretty enough, when the responsibilities you have, I see them as failures. Last 6 weeks, you failed at garbage drastically. Neighbors that we can't get our garbage picked up, and he's had his picked up a lot more than I have. Last 6 weeks, I think I've had them come twice after multiple complaints. So where I stand, you failed on water, you failed on sewer, and you failed on trash. 3 of your main things, besides street, police, fire, things like that. So 3 of your responsibilities you failed, but I can't find you. You're saying just because I don't look pretty, you're going to find me. It's not even, you know, it's like a mouse against a bear, you know. But anyway, please consider it and
Mr.
vote no.
Commissioner Campos,
I just had a couple of questions, sir.
I appreciate you standing there to answer.
No, that's fine, that's fine, that's why I came down.
We received this petition right before our meeting. Is your name on it, sir?
It should be about number 4 or 5 slot.
Okay. Let me ask you this. It states that this proposed ordinance goes against your constitutional rights. Can you tell me specifically what constitutional rights you're speaking of? Is the Bill of Rights? Is there an amendment? What are you?
I think I already mentioned one, that I am secure in my possessions. And with this, I am not secure in my possessions. Because you can fine me, you can put liens on my property if I don't look pretty enough. You see
But
that?
you understand, we're not taking your position. The city's not taking your position, right? So you're secure in your position, correct?
But a lien on it is like taking it, because what you're doing is taking a part of it. Because if I sell it, then part goes to you before I get mine, correct?
I don't follow that, but I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Be glad to answer any other questions.
No, I appreciate you, Stan. Thank
But
you.
honestly, you know, I think you have to hate freedom to vote for something like this. And I love freedom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm Joycelyn Dent, I live at 1300 North Main, and what concerns me is the vacant lots here in town. Up and down Main Street, I'm going to call a name. Family Dollar owns a property right there across the street from us. They do not keep up that vacant lot. It is trash. It is knee-high in weeds. What are you going to do about the vacant lots when you guys are so worried about the homes and the businesses looking like crap or whatever? But the vacant lots look like crap, and that is unappealing to people when you come into town, when they see these vacant lots like this. We have them on both sides of our home, and they're not being kept up at all. Vacant lots are not being kept up at all.
I would like to apologize for selling that land to the Family Dollar.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other public comments? Yes. Go ahead.
It's Leslie again. I just wanted to say that we had the USDA Rural Development Workshop a couple weeks ago, and I did reach out to one of the people with the USDA, and that for anyone that, I know that's kind of an issue, for anyone that's over 62 and can be considered low income, there is grants available and there's 1% loans available. So if anybody that has a concern about fixing up their property that meets those guidelines or any other guidelines, please have them come into me and I'll help get them any information or see if I can find some help for them. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Belden Walden. I have property right dead center in all this mess. I have read this thing from top to bottom, and all I can see is crushing fines. Fines to the degree of forcing somebody out of their property. I see nothing in it anywhere that encourages new business. It creates situations that new businesses really don't want to be part of it. I don't understand what the fantasy is that fines are going to create a pretty city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, City Commissioners, Mayor Trujillo. We just wanted to let everyone know that Lovington Main Street has opened up facade grants for the 2019 year, and these are directed towards businesses in the Main Street district to help them improve their facade. We also have the behind the facade, which will help with a little bit more than just your traditional facade grant earnings. So those are opportunities that we offer to all downtown building owners and business owners. So if anybody has any questions or would like some assistance, let us know. Thank you.
Any other further comments? Okay, moving on to United Way presentation.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for letting me come and visit with you all. Presentation, how do I do that? Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. Okay. My name is Linda Bose. I'm the new director of United Way for Lee County. And I just want to share with you kind of a vision, mission that's kind of happening, taking place with our organization. Maybe some of this you know, some of it you don't know, but just to kind of give you a basic overview, and I promise not to take up too much of your time. Over 130 years ago is when this took place. Uh-oh. I killed it. Keep going? Oh, okay.
Click back.
So that should be the video. I could do it without if you don't have it. Okay, don't worry about it. That's fine. Okay, so I'm going to just give you the overview.
There you go.
You think so? Sorry, technical glitch. Okay. It's a little 1-minute video.
What is United Way? United Way was established
More than 125 years ago in Denver by a woman, a priest, 2 ministers, and a rabbi. It mobilized 2.9 million volunteers and raised $5.2 billion across 1,800 United Ways in 41 countries, ranking United Way as the world's largest privately funded nonprofit organization. Okay, but what does United Way do? United Way's mission is to advance the common good through the 3 building blocks for a good quality of life. Education. We help children and youth achieve their full potential. Income. We promote financial stability and independence for families and individuals. Health. We work to improve people's health. Okay, but how do we do that? It's simple. United Way brings together the stakeholders in each community, governments, NGOs, and business partners to build collective impact strategies to address the most pressing issues identified at the local level. Thank you to all those who give, advocate, and volunteer. Be part of the change and join the movement to live united.
So that basically tells you a little bit about who we are as the overview. And then bringing it more into focus here locally within Lee County is what I want to talk to you a little bit more about today. So, quote here, if our hope of building a better and safer world are to become more than a wishful thinking, we will need to engage the engagement of volunteers more than ever. So at various levels, we want to oversee and kind of find out what exactly is needed within the community. And we do this by having opportunities such as the opportunity to advocate, through like CASA for children that are in need, volunteering on many different levels, as well as making donations to support some of the agencies that we support, and then community action projects. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as we go forward. The first thing I want to address, this is something that is near and dear to my heart, but the idea of poverty is a threat to public health. It actually affects the brain development of children. And this is something that we are trying to address in various ways through our agencies and also through these community impact programs. So one of the things that I'm involved with is the Literacy Coalition, and we are looking at various ways of addressing this. Already looking at some of the statistics for the area, we, not so much up in Lovington, but in Hobbs and some other areas, are well above what they would consider chronic absence. And that's not acceptable for future development for our, our young people. So at this point, if you're over 18 days missed school, that is considered chronic absence. And the reason this is so important is over 85% of the materials that children are given their lessons on is through reading. And if they can't catch up by 3rd grade, their chances of success are very, very, very limited. So it's super important that we look at these things at an early age when we can still address it before it becomes many other issues later on in life. So we want to identify that through a community coalition or an outreach, some sort of a collective impact approach. And I'm also a trainer, a corporate trainer, and I'm certified to deliver and facilitate these kind of projects. So what I would like to do is encourage people just to come to the table, to have those conversations, and to tell us what you need. What do families really need? What do you want from us? What can we do to make things more accessible? And there's things that we're finding out through the youth risk and resiliency surveys that are done every 2 years, where the middle school age children and your high school age children are telling us, they don't feel safe, or they have suicidal thoughts, or all these things that we as a community can manage this through these kind of activities or this impact approach. Again, nothing of this is in place yet, but it can be. So if this is something that folks are wanting to be involved with, we can do this for you. That's what United Way Worldwide is kind of giving us those abilities to do. And you've heard of the various programs that a lot of business community people could get involved with, is creating opportunities for them to learn more about science through projects, building rockets, technology, engineering, art. We're going to try to encourage more of the art participation throughout the summer months, so we can encourage less reading loss and less what they call the summer slide. I don't know if you've ever heard that term before, but a lot of teachers will tell you that they spend the better half of the next school year just trying to get the kids back up to that level. So it's important that we look at doing these kind of innovative events. When we have events, we are going to have this in the back of our mind. So when you see Chili Fest, you're not just going to see Chili Fest. We're going to try to have opportunities for kids to get involved with various projects and things. So who we are, I will tell you, we are not involved in politics. We are not engaged in any kind of religious debate. We are a neutral partner. And surveys have said time and time again, that is who United Way is. People trust us no matter what side of the aisle you're on. And what we can do with that is we can help with certain messages that are important to the community's success. For example, what's happening now with the census. There's a lot of myth information that are involved in that. And I am on the committee in Hobbs. I believe Lovington has one here too. And we're all doing these subcommittees, but I will be going around all of Lee County, setting up in the credit unions and grocery stores and maybe at the hospital. I haven't gotten to those guys yet, but I want to set up a table where people can just come and ask, what kind of questions, what are you afraid of? What is it that you want to know a little bit more about? We have a lot of folks in these man camps that are here more than 50% of the time, and they need to be counted here because they're using our roads and our services. So that kind of information is stuff that I'm trying to share as well. As a matter of fact, one of the places I'm hoping to set up is in one of those hotels where a large population is long-term stay. And these are our agency partners. These are the folks that the monies go to. Just to give you some examples, this is probably where I'll take a little bit more time here, but American Red Cross, how many of you knew they have provided over $30,000 in direct financial assistance to Lee County in various forms? And we're talking about not just wind events and disasters and those sorts of things, but if somebody has a fire or a house fire, maybe they lose their prescriptions. These folks are very active in our community. Boy Scouts supports both PAC and troops all over Lee County. Did you know that there's over 200 young men that actually participate? So again, there's a lot of good work being done. Boys and Girls Club, they have average during the school year, 500 children go through those doors. And in the summer months, 260 on average. These people are doing great work. CASA continues to serve children as a court advocate. They logged in over 1,500 hours in volunteer services last year. Faith in Action, they provided over 3,000 residents with county guidelines, considered them below the poverty level, so they were able to assist them with the prescriptions. And then those folks that possibly had like a tragedy or some sort of an event that took place, or maybe they lost their job, so that we are able to get them connected to all these various resources. Girl Scouts, they have over 600 young ladies involved actively in their programs. Heart's Desire has served over 3,000 residents in these recovery programs, and they've done so much more than even that. You've been to their stores, you know where they're located here in Lovington. Isaiah's Kitchen, how many of you knew in 2018 they served over 21,000 meals? That's a need. Obviously, it's important, it's a need, it's being met. Opportunity House is a transitional living program that focuses on treatment long-term for folks who are suffering from alcohol and addiction. And the national average for those types of transitional houses is a success rate of about 30%, and they are well above that average. So we have really good programs that are working here. I know I keep saying that, but I'm very excited about their work. Salvation Army, 15,000 served in some sort of capacity here in Lee County when they found themselves in emergency situations. Option Inc. has served over 5,000 persons, including family accommodations being afforded to them for those who were at risk of some sort of domestic violence. And with the influx of folks that are moving into the area, a lot of these programs are going to get hit hard. So it's important that you're aware. WHI, actually called Y, is a service that provides over 25,000 meals on average to children in need in the year 2018. And they're on track to exceed that this year. I mean, that's basically, they're sending home a backpack full of easy to prepare meals for children who otherwise wouldn't have access to proper nutrition. 25,000. That's just a little bit of what they do. Another thing that we're going to be offering, if they're interested, before I took the position, I just moved here from Austin, and one of the things that they did is put out a survey, and some of the agency partners were interested in getting some training. I do board development training, so we were going to offer that to them, kind of in a lunch and learn type atmosphere, like I did with the state of Texas. And what we would do is have them do maybe even a recording where it's like an hour long, and if they can't attend, then they could log on and get the information for whatever the topic was. There are reasons why companies during campaign time really do want to participate. It boosts employee morale. It's a proven fact. People like to be part of the solution. And this is, I hope that you will, going forward, consider within your organizations, opportunities for us to come and explain. This is what we do. People maybe don't know. I know, I'm moving. Another way that we do also help out, annually we provide grants for special projects that people put in place. I think here in Lee County, here in Lovington, we have Heart's Desire. They did the gardens, the therapeutic gardens. Those are just some of the creative ways that we'll fund projects for them and help people out. Habitat for Humanity, the guest volunteer RV facility, that is a big deal, and it's really helped. Girl Scouts, My Power, they've done anti-bullying programs, girl empowerment programs, and the list goes on. And I'll tell you, this year we had more of an attendance than they had seen in a couple of years. So there's a lot of creative thoughts going around out there trying to come up with ways that we can, help out. And many of you may or may not know, but in all of Lee County, we do have access to a service line for Health and Human Services, and this kind of helps us further support the agencies and what they're able to provide us. In addition to that, we've helped them directly ourselves. I mean, just this last year, we gave away heaters, fans, emergency groceries. The lady that actually runs the program goes out and buys shoes if the kids need shoes. So we try to fill those gaps. That's really what United Way is about. And she's done a remarkable job with that. And this is just to kind of give you an idea as to some of the things that we're looking at in the future. We'll be at the rodeo. You'll see us out there. We're encouraging a lot of our agency partners to help us man a booth and just get the word out about census, about anything that has to do with the community. We are going to be at the Energyplex. We're going to put an article in the Senior Confidential. That's a full-page article explaining how seniors can get involved in the community, but also services that are available to them. What kind of things do they need? We're going to do like a survey and ask them, what do you need? Do you need maintenance done on your house? Do you need, transportation? A lot of folks say they need transportation in the evening. So these are some of the things that we get out and about. And you see the little fella in the middle there with the Coke, he's giving you a Coke float? That's me. I'm going to be at the credit unions passing out Coke floats and talking to people. And then, like I said, we'll go around all over the county and hopefully we'll get the word out. So, and just as an example, I don't know if any of you had an opportunity to attend the Fed Reserve. President Kaplan was here, and he had talked about current trends toward future workforce and some of the concerns that they have about making sure that our young people have the resources and the abilities to really be successful in some of the up and coming, within the next 15 to 20 years, what types of positions are available. One of the things that we can also offer, and again, like I said, I'm a trainer, so I can provide this training, this is just an example of one that's available through United Way of Worldwide. Career Navigator, they're going to focus on training people on 4 different sectors: oil and gas, energy, construction, and IT. Those are hot items in this area, and we can help young people understand that if they're interested. Again, these are services that many people maybe didn't know that we have, and we have many, many more. Opioid addiction, there's disposal bags that we're going to be passing out. There's many, many things that we can do. And I'm sorry I took so much time. I was actually trying to talk fast. Any questions?
I just have a question.
Yes, sir.
Twofold question.
Yes.
United Way is a great organization. They help out a lot of folks, a lot of organizations within our community, so I appreciate your work.
Thank you.
I would like to see Lovington entities receive more of the benefits of United Way.
Absolutely.
I saw where Y is listed as Hobbs. Is that offered to the Lovington schools as well, the Lovington kids?
Which one is that?
Y?
I don't know. That I'll have to check into.
Would you mind?
Because I know it's located there, and I'm not sure how far outreach Leslie goes. I know she's stretched to the limit right now.
Because we have a need for that.
You
as
do,
well. Yes, ma'am.
absolutely.
And then also,
Okay.
any organization that wants to become or wants to receive benefits from United Way, how would they obtain those benefits? Is there a
Right.
process you have?
There is, yes.
What is that process?
We have an application that they fill out. It's a pretty straightforward application that kind of gives us a background. It's like 6 different questions about who they are, what their mission is, how they are making an impact or a difference in the community. But they also have to be a nonprofit for approximately a year. They have to be a 501c3, and they have to have that in good standing for 1 year.
Okay.
Before they can apply. I mean, they can apply, but you'd have to have that 1 year. And the reason I've had people ask me this too, why a year? Well, there's suggestion that you need to show that they really are committed to the process. So a lot of people have the heart for it, but they may not have the business sense for it or whatever.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anything else? Thank you so much for your time. Sorry it took so long.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You may, Mayor, you may want to go
Yeah.
back and
Yeah,
allow
we
for
will.
additional public comment.
Okay. Earlier under public comment, we allowed public comment to cover also ordinance 569, but we also have it listed under non-action items. So if any further words on public comment for ordinance number 569, if anybody has any further words you'd like to say on that, the floor is
I
open.
really don't think I answered Mr. Campos that well when he asked about my rights, which ones I'm losing. It's like plastic surgery, like I said, if you think I'm ugly, you can't force me to get plastic surgery because I have the right to control me, and my property is an extension of me. And with these rules, no matter what my income is, whether I'm on a budget or what, you will set a time limit on me to meet your expectations of my property. And my inability to meet those guidelines or the deadlines would result in penalties damaging me. True or false?
Well, you're making an assumption that you're not gonna meet those requirements.
Financially, maybe I can't.
But we have help to maybe help you achieve those requirements, as Ms. Mara Salcido just mentioned earlier.
And she mentioned for businesses, but this is my residence.
I understand. But we're not trying to kick anybody out or make sure that, we're not trying to change your face.
I know that's
We're just
not your
trying to make everybody
intent.
accommodate to having a more pleasurable appearance for our Lovington
Yeah.
community. That's all we're trying to do.
But freedom doesn't guarantee beauty. Some people think the desert is ugly. I think the desert is beautiful.
I agree.
Okay?
All right.
So, but somebody from the east comes out, they say, oh gee, no matter what they see, that looks terrible. I don't know.
I appreciate you. Anybody else? I want to also commend you for stepping up. You know, it's kind of funny, everybody, you hear about it left and right as you walk around town and so forth, but we only have 4 in attendance that spoke up. It takes a lot to stand up and say something, and I really commend you guys for coming here and stating your opinion to us. It really means a lot to me. When it comes to rights and so forth, I'm glad you're speaking and letting us know your opinion. But like I said earlier, that seems to always be the case. When there's a change or something like that, there are a lot of people yippering and yappering, but nobody comes to speak on behalf of the ones that are there. You know, like I always tell everybody, I said, bring 4,000 people to this chamber, and I guarantee it probably change my mind. I said, but if I only get 4 or 5, how am I supposed to change my mind when there's nobody here in attendance? It's hard to say that, well, 4 showed up, so now we just need to go in a different direction. But I understand where you guys are coming from, and I just want to say that I appreciate it. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Can I just say something? At
Yes.
the first meeting that this was brought up,
Can you
back
come,
in,
please?
at the first meeting, this ordinance or whatever was brought up, there were a whole lot of people here against it and for it, whatever. And then the attendance has dropped every time since then, because we've come to every one of them. But the attendance, the first meeting, or the first time we got the letter from the city and everything telling us about all this, there was a good group there, but then it's dropped down since then, so.
Yes, thank you. Anybody, any other more comments on 569 ordinance? Okay, moving forward to action items. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for approval of ordinance 569, an ordinance that creates Title 17 zoning, Chapter 17.34-E, Economic District of the Lovington Municipal Code.
Second.
A motion, second, James.
Mayor, Commissioners, to address a couple of the comments that we've heard, the change to the single-family dwelling requirement was incorporated in the version of the ordinance that's been out for over 30 days. You can actually find the specific section. It's 17.34.050 A and B. It does allow for single-family dwellings that are currently in place in the specified zone as of January 1st, 2019 to remain so. And they can also be passed down. They can also be sold as a residence. The only exception to that is if they are ever converted into a commercial business, they can't be converted back into a single-family residence. Also, I know that a lot of folks assume that the fines are automatic, but they're not. The reason that there is a fine in place is if you did not have a fine, there would be no motivation to actually comply, which we actually see in the district in several areas right now. There's no motivation for people to take care of their property or use it in an appropriate manner. It's almost anything goes. However, the fines are not automatic. That is actually determined by the other branch of government, the judicial branch. So the fines are meant to motivate. It's a last resort. I know that the city, our staff, myself included, want to work with folks, and the fine is only meant for individuals who do not or absolutely refuse to comply with the standards that may be adopted tonight. This also was at the direction of commission several months ago. The history on it, this was based on complaints by citizens who are requesting the downtown area be cleaned up. However, we can't do anything when there's nothing in the code that allows for these areas to actually be cleaned up. This was also in response to the complaints of businesses looking to relocate here to Lovington. They don't want to make a significant investment, whether they remodel or they build a new business next to something that is would impact the visual appearance and the aesthetics of Lovington. We also have the abatement in there. That is a means as well for individuals who refuse to comply or for various other means. It allows the city to go in and abate that property, but we do have to file a lien. The city can't, because of the New Mexico Constitution and the anti-donation clause, just go in and clean up somebody's property. So the lien is a way for the taxpayer to recoup those funds. But that's all I have unless the commission has any other questions.
Like on Avenue G, 2nd and G.
Yes, sir.
The trailer there is so full of trash.
Yes, sir.
Has anybody addressed that?
Yes, sir. Code enforcement has addressed that by using the mechanisms that we have in place. They started out with warnings. Now we cite those and it goes through the judicial system.
When does that start?
It has been going on, sir.
They're still full.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so all code enforcement can do, Commissioner Sanchez, is provide a citation. And with that citation, then they have to go see the judge. And the judge.
It's been like that for years.
Yes, sir. And we have no authority over the judge as far as her working with that owner to get cleanup or whether or not she assesses him a financial penalty. That is totally at her discretion.
So you don't know if the judge has fined them or done anything?
I would have to go back and look and visit with her. I can get that information to you.
Yeah, because it's an eyesore for ages. So far, so good. You know, I can say this probably. My district, District 2, is probably the dirtiest district, and I've been fighting for years trying to clean it up, and we haven't cleaned it up. Really. Any questions by the board?
James, your recommendation?
Given the amount of time, public comment, I would recommend to go ahead and adopt this ordinance.
Thank you.
And I'll always remember under abatement and so forth, it still has to go before the board to abate anybody or so forth. So it still has to get our approval. Last one we did was years back. I recall it took us about 5 years, didn't it? Commissioner Gandy? By the time, but that's our end result. But this was pretty bad rat infest drug place. But it took us 5 years, and that's the sad part about it, on some of these areas that definitely need to be cleaned up. But the process is lengthy, so, and we do have the final say on anything like that, the commissioner does. If there's no other further questions, roll call vote, Anna.
Commissioner Gandy?
Aye.
Commissioner Campos?
Aye.
Commissioner Butcher?
Aye.
Commissioner Sanchez?
No.
And Mayor Trujillo?
Aye. Okay, do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion.
I'm sorry. So, favorites, aye, so ayes have it. Thank you. Go, Commissioner.
I'd like to make a motion to consider resolution 2019-49, approval of engagement agreement with GK Baum for financial advisor services.
Second. Have motion second. Here.
If I may, your mayor and commission, we've been approached by our financial advisors, GK Baum, letting us know that we could take advantage of a revision in the contract that we initially started with, which would create an annual savings of basically $2,500 a year. However, the consequence would be we would have additional fees assessed when we go out for another loan that would charge us more. However, when you balance the additional cost, which would be based on dollar amounts of the loan, it still would be offset by the lower annual fees. So essentially we're paying $7,000 a year. This will drop it down, or $7,500 a year. This will drop it down to $4,000 a year with our contract. And looking at the fact that we likely won't be doing a whole lot of future loans, this is a good savings for us. Do you have any specific questions about the contract?
Any questions about the board? Had a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, resolutions 2019-050, approval of extension of the MOU between the New Mexico Main Street Program, City of Lovington, and Lovington Main Street.
Second. Had a motion and a second, James.
Mayor Commissioners, this is necessary. As you know, every 2 years we adopt a MOU between the city, Lovington Main Street, and the state of New Mexico Main Street Program to provide certain funding to them. However, the National Main Street Program is revising their standards. They haven't completed that process yet, so what the state has recommended is that we just extend our existing MOU by 1 year. There's no change in the terms. The funding level is still the same.
Any questions by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we consider resolution 219-051, authorizing the purchase of real property, lot 18, lot 14, original town addition to the city of Lovington.
Second.
Had a motion and a second, James.
Mayor and Commissioners, part of our Magistrate Court Complex project, the area highlighted in yellow is the one of the remaining pieces of property that is needed for that particular project. Purchase price will be $100,000, of which this will be part of the NMFA agreement through the state in order to effect this purchase and construction of the new courthouse.
Any questions about it? Thank you, James. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2019-52, authorizing the execution of legislative grant 19-D3055 for the restoration of the Lee Theater.
Second.
The motion, second, James.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is our capital outlay appropriation that we're receiving from the state. This agreement is necessary for us to start the process. Much like the other 3 action items, they're all capital outlay, so we signed this agreement tonight. It gets sent back to Santa Fe to the Department of Finance, Local Government Division. They sign that, and as soon as we get the executed copy back, we'll be able to begin the procurement process for the various equipment or rehabilitation.
Any other questions? Question?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So how much will that be that we're gonna ask for?
This particular appropriation, the state granted us $100,000.
100.
Yes, sir.
There's no any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to consider resolution 2019-53, authorizing the execution of legislative grant 19-D3056 for the purchase of an ambulance.
Second.
Been motion second by Commissioner Gandy.
Mayor Commissioners, this is another capital outlay appropriation for $240,000 for the purchase and equipping of an ambulance.
Any questions by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2019-055, authorizing the execution of legislation grant 19-D33058 for the Veterans Memorial Park.
Second.
Had a motion second. James?
Mayor Commissioners, we can go back and address it. We did skip over one, but since we have a motion and a second, we can go and vote on that. But 2019-55 is a $600,000 legislative appropriation towards the Veterans Memorial Park.
It's jumping ahead.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
And to clarify that, James, do you want to clarify what, on the next meeting, you'll speak to the board and see what that's going to be appropriate for, or what direction we're going to head with that.
Well, Mayor Commissioners, actually, we would need to start off with the planning and design process.
So that would be it.
Yes, sir.
So this is for planning and design? and-
No, well, Mayor Commissioners, the language is very broad.
Okay.
We can plan, design, equip, purchase, install, basically everything. However, we need to actually have, considering the amount of funding involved in this, we are required by law to actually have engineered services. But we'll be putting together an RFP for planning and design services that would be released, and a portion of this would be used to pay for that. Not all $600,000 would go towards the planning and design process. However, we have 3 years to expend all of this money. So the first step would be the planning and design.
Thank you for clarifying that, James.
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Going back up.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2019-54, authorizing the execution of legislative grant 19-D 3057 for the purchase of a fire rescue vehicle.
Second.
Motion second by Art Sanchez. Commissioner.
Mayor Commissioners, this is a legislative appropriation of $250,000 to purchase a fire rescue apparatus.
Any questions by the board?
Yes, sir.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Have a motion.
I'm going to make a motion to consider resolution 2019-56, approval of mural design concept for library parking.
Second. And a motion second.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Commissioners. I'm back. So as you know, in 2018, we actually received 2 separate grants, one from the New Mexico Resiliency Alliance and one from Lee County Co-op. These grants were made to turn our employee parking lot into an outdoor reading area at the Lovington Library. So right now we have grass out there, some pebbles, we have furniture, and papers. So we have like a checkered board. The next points that we would like to do on this parklet is to do a graffiti mural on the 2 walls that house it, kind of to create a little bit better idea of a parklet, and as well as to encourage imagination throughout the kids. We have Dante Rios, a Lovington native, who's going to be doing this mural for us. We have brought up a couple of different designs that we would like to show to you guys to get approval of what we would be doing. Originally, we were looking at doing different characters from books that kids could associate with and relate to. However, due to copyright laws, we have since scratched that idea, and we will instead be pursuing imagination characters such as dragons, unicorns, monsters, different things like that, to kind of get a different feel for it. So these are the 2 walls, so it's basically the L. So like I said, one of the things that we're looking at doing is doing library books and then having them spill out onto the actual wall, so like the walls are the canvas. We would be reaching out to different, we actually have the pre-K working with us to get some different kids up there, hopefully a very diverse group of kids to kind of represent our community. And they're the ones that are going to be reading from these books, and it's their imaginations that's pouring onto the walls. So kind of just to give you guys a little bit better of an idea. Oh.
Yeah, and just to explain it a little bit more, what you see right there, it's gonna be, there's not gonna be anything left of that wall. It's gonna be completely colored. So except for the top part, I'm working on another little part right about here. So you can see how it's breaking off across the top right there. So I will be actually leaving some of the building intact how it actually was, and making it look like a piece of the wall had actually fell or broke off. And there will be a kid actually in this doorway right around here, opening that book, where he's actually reading about these pirates and the Kraken and stuff like this. And then I also got, so this is actually a bookshelf. So it's a bookshelf right here, and it's like it broke through the wall. and there's books right here. So we'll be having like the backs of the books. Actually, seeing the back, like they're on the wall, like on the wall and stuff. So, and yeah, like she said, I want to have actual students or residents that we have, like, or children that we have here in our community, possibly get a chance to get on the wall. So, you know, probably get a portrait up there. So we'll be also transitioning into the wall. I want to go from like a daytime to a nighttime, and it'll be on the middle to where the book, to where the corner is. It'll be like the book is actually opening up. So it'll be around this area right here. I'm actually still needing to go alter and stuff. There's gonna be, like, if she was part of the book, it opens up and it's the other section of it. But we got that other one on there? No? Yeah, okay. So I do have the other designs for the other one, but I guess we don't have them here. So, but if you are willing to look at that or check it out, I'd be more willing to help out. And it's also, if we need to alter anything, we can do that also. So I would like to help beautify this community, and all the funding that I'm actually getting from this will be going to my business, which is an art gallery venue spot that I will be throwing community events for the community and everything. So,
Any questions?
Do you have a building for that
I
already?
do.
Don't you?
Yeah, I'm actually opening up right downstairs on Main Street, right at my house. So.
Oh, okay, okay, all right, of course. Thank you. You're very talented.
Thank you.
Any other questions, brother? Okay. Mark, you good to go? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do you have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2019-057, improvement application for New Mexico Department of Transportation, funds for micro slurry sealing of municipal roadways.
Second.
Have a motion, second, James.
Mayor, Commissioners, this may sound very similar to a previous grant application that we have applied for. However, we do not know if we're going to get it. I know that part of the local government road fund that we have received over the past couple of years, the funding was reduced to that program. We'll find out on May 22nd if we did receive it for this. This is the IPR slurry sealing of about 2.67 miles of municipal roads, and the description can be found on the road list. I believe I have a picture of it there. But this is a $157,000 grant. The reason why we're applying for another one is as a just in case. The state NMDOT issued a call for projects, but it has a very short turnaround time. Basically, if we adopt this resolution tonight, I have to have it turned in on Friday. This is actually the last item that we needed for this particular grant application, so I'm hopeful that we'll actually get funding for this project.
Any questions about the board? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have another motion?
Make a motion that we consider resolution 219-058 approving application to New Mexico Department of Transportation for the West Jackson Road Rehabilitation Project.
Second.
Motion second by Commissioner Campos.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is another grant application. We did apply through the Municipal Arterial Program. However, it appeared that the $534,000 project that we had, we were competing with only about $660,000 of available dollars for the entire NMDOT District 2. So we were actually applying for this particular project through that state call for projects, which part of the process is due this coming Friday. This will encompass a mill and overlay, about 3 inches of asphalt, and on Jackson between Main and 9th Street.
Okay. Any questions? Brother Bill? Had motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion we consider resolution 219-059 approval to utilize economic development funds for an infrastructure and quality life project.
Second.
Have motion second. James?
Mayor Commissioners, as you know, the 1/8 of 1% local economic development tax, as we call it, is allowed to be used on infrastructure projects as well as quality of life improvements. What the city is, or what city staff are requesting is to purchase a 100 kVA generator that's portable, and this will fulfill two needs. One is a backup power supply for City Hall. In the event that we do lose power for a sustained period of time, because of how our network is set up, if City Hall loses power, we lose phone service to not only this building but also the public safety complex and our Chamber of Commerce. That's just the nature of where phone technology has gone. It's all voice over internet. So this generator would be stored indoors, out of the elements, and in addition to that, we would also be able to utilize this generator for our different events that we have, which we have outdoor concerts. Right now, outdoor concerts are 3 organizations over at the Chamber of Commerce or Troy Harris Center. They all rely on either rentals or donations of generators. This particular equipment would be maintained by the city. It'd be part of a maintenance contract. It would be checked every month. Like I said, stored indoors. In order to pay for this, we would like to use the Local Economic Development or Fund 311. Part of that particular ordinance, we did run it through the Due Diligence Committee of the Economic Development Corporation, and they are recommending as attached that we go ahead and proceed with this purchase.
Any questions?
James, do we really need another generator?
Oh.
Kidding, Evelyn. I'm kidding. I was thinking if you were listening, that's all. I'm just kidding. Thank you for listening.
I've got it.
Yes.
So
Sure.
about what would this generator cost?
This generator will cost right under $28,000.
Tell me that again?
It's a used, reconditioned
Okay,
generator.
all right.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm sorry.
What is this on? I missed that one.
No. So, well, Mayor and Commissioners, this is a used, rehabilitated generator. A brand new one is about $80,000 to $90,000. So,
How long is it going?
First start or 20 minutes?
Nice. I'm the one that looked into it and everything else. I've seen the difference between ones with 1,000 hours all the way up to 12,000 hours. It just depends on the maintenance. And like James said, we will have a monthly maintenance check on it, but we are hiring Rocky Mountain Cummings to come in that does our yearly inspections on the rest of our generators for our well field, our public safety building, and our wastewater facility. They are set up on a yearly contract to come and do load test yearly and do all the service on them yearly.
So it will have a warranty for a few years?
The maintenance will be done every year on it and checked out and everything. Yes, sir.
No charge?
Well, there's a charge.
I mean, a warranty, they'll honor it,
I don't think he's talking about a warranty.
but if they come and do something, then they're gonna charge you every time?
Somebody else will maintain it for his commissioner apparently, right?
Yes.
Any other questions by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do you have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a resolution motion for 2019-60. FY fiscal year 2019-2020 interim budget approval.
Second.
And motion second. James?
Mayor and Commissioners, this particular resolution, it will approve our interim municipal operating budget for fiscal year 2020. We do have to approve this prior to the June 1st submission deadline. So if we decide to approve this tonight, that would be great. If we don't, we would have to approve it at our next city commission meeting. So the interim budget as presented without any salary changes, we're looking at total expenses across all funds of $24,941 or $941,358. Our revenues are at $26.2 million. So when you look at, this does not include any changes to salaries or benefits. On the attached summary page, you'll find all the expenses and revenues for each of these. That is within your commission packet. You can see that in our general fund, right now with the expenses as presented, our general fund would have an estimated balance as of June 30, cash balance, June 30 of 2020 of 2.5 or a 24.7% reserve. If you look at the water fund, Fund 501, as well as solid waste 504 and 505 is our wastewater fund. They do not reflect the total reserves available because what we are doing is we have to maintain a certain percentage. Of course, these are enterprise funds. Our fund balance policy requires a 3% reserve. However, we do have to cover customer deposits as well as maintain a minimum fund balance to make sure that we cover the debt service for the wastewater and water improvement loans that we have through the Environment Department. In order to do that, we will be purchasing CDs. So the money is there, but they will be committed to CDs. That way we always have that ability, or we always have that money available to make sure we cover those particular requirements. As requested at the budget workshop, we have prepared some analysis on salary adjustments for you to review and approve. If you take note, initially it was presented as a merit increase. There was discussion of just a salary adjustment across the board. Should the merit increase be adopted, this would be an adjustment based, a merit increase concept. This would be based on the employee's evaluation. Evaluation wouldn't occur until their employment anniversary. If the 3% increase were selected, the employee would be eligible to receive no more than 3%. Each employee would receive that increase regardless of their performance. However, they would be required, just for the wage adjustment, they would have to work for the city for 1 year or longer. The timing of the increase needs to, if you do decide to approve an increase, if you do go to a wage adjustment, the timing does need to be discussed. Does this occur on July 1st or does this occur on the employee's anniversary date? If the across the board increase is phased in, there's less of that significant impact to the general fund up front on July 1st. In a phased approach, this would also allow for a couple more of our employees to be eligible for that. The total cost of the recommended increase of 3%, just being fiscally conservative, would be $132,929 across all funds, but it would drop the general fund down to 23.5%. We also had discussions in regards to our police department and looking at the analysis of police officer increases. We have several different scenarios. First table, this shows the fiscal impact as well as the reserve impact to the adjustments of the different officer salaries. This does not include any of the police dispatchers or administrative personnel. Those would be classified as regular or general employees as well. Fiscal impact for those increases would fall solely on the general fund. The police department is only funded through the general fund. So we introduced a concept of a 5% increase, a 10% increase, or a 15% increase. And you can see with just a 5% increase, the impact to the general fund is $43,000 and it drops the reserves down to $24.25 in our general fund. As well as if you go all the way up to a 15%, it's almost it's $129,000 and it drops it down to 23.29. Also, we did incorporate the police department adjustment plus a merit increase for all employees. However, what that does is the police, in this particular table here, the second one, this would be an adjustment for the police officers plus either a merit or across the board increase that they would be eligible for all other employees. So if the commission elected to give a 5% increase to the police department and also a 3% salary increase, that essentially means that a police officer would get an 8% increase, whereas all other employees would only get a 3%. The last table that you can see, this would just be the police department getting their wage adjustment only, and then all other employees getting a wage adjustment. So in this particular scenario, if the The commission decided to adjust police department salaries by 5%, but also provide a 3% merit or wage adjustment. PD officers would only be eligible for the 5%. So what this means, also, if you look at we did provide you this table as far as comparison rates to what our officers are currently making. In addition to Lee County Sheriff's Department, Eddy County Sheriff's Department, Hobbs Police Department, and Carlsbad Police Department. Just for comparison, but please, as you know, these are not demographically or budgetarily similar. These are higher paying departments, however, they also have vacancies. They face the same issues that we have, even though they pay substantially more. I would stand for any questions.
Question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
James, going back to the general employees.
Yes, sir.
That sounds more like a COLA as opposed to merit. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yes, well, what we were talking about was, this was first introduced during our work session as a merit increase. It would be performance-based, so yes, one of the concepts that was also discussed was just doing across the board, or you could look at it as a COLA.
Okay. All right, very good.
James, also, in my understanding still, if we did with the, across the board with the employees, general employees for 3%, and that the police department, if we went across the board with 10%, it would only be 10% for the police department, 3%. It wouldn't be 13%.
Correct. If you did that, correct. So if you went with this particular option, where a police department received only their adjustment, then all other employees would either have the, let's just call it a COLA to simplify it, a 3% COLA, yes. That means that police patrol officers would get a 10% increase, whereas all other general employees would only receive a 3%.
And on my opinion, I was in favor of the 3% COLA during our work session. I didn't want to go with the merit system this time. I felt like one thing I did state that if we had employees that wasn't working, we should have did away with them after the 90 days. If not, if they've been with us after a year, I believe they do deserve a cost of living increase. They have to be performing somehow in our favor to be working for us more than a year. So, and as well as the police department with the 10%, I was in favor of 10% to help our department hold employees and so forth, especially when it comes down to people with experience. That was my thing, public safety on that. So that was what I was in favor of. I stand for any other.
So, Mr. Mayor, you're talking about 10%, and that's it for police.
Yes, sir.
And
No,
3% for everybody.
With no merit, Commissioner Combs.
With no COLA.
No COLA. Yeah, just 10%, because I don't want to do with I want to do with the merit this time. I feel like I tend to feel like there's some favoritism goes on, and this way everybody feels like, hey, I got 10%, everybody's fair. We're going to be fair across the board with everybody on the 10% and on the 3%. That way there's no discussion like, hey, why did he get the merit or she got the merit? They just go with the cost. But that's my opinion, and that's how I felt. I stand for any other comments.
Chief James, how would that throw us on our
reserves
on the last?
So what Mayor Commissioners, what Mayor Trio has said is a 10% increase, and then also a 3% for all other employees. That would drop our reserves down to just under 23%.
So what are we supposed to have generally?
The state, Mayor Commissioners, the state of New Mexico requires that we have a 1/12 reserve as a municipality, or 8.3%. However, our fund balance reserve policy requires a minimum of 20%. And I also would like to caution the commission that these are all estimates. This is based on estimated expenditures. Of course, we keep our expenditures in line, but these also are dealing with estimated revenues as well.
And to keep costs down, that's why another reason I wouldn't be in favor of merit. Just go with the 10 and the 3. Keep the costs. If not, we'll see a cost increase later on with the merit increases. Right, like I said, that's my opinion. You guys are entitled to your own as well.
So I have a question. So, James, tonight we're voting on the actual specific pay increases for both police and general public as a part of the interim budget, is that correct?
Yes, sir, you do have that ability. The budget that we have presented does not include this, so we would have to amend the original motion to incorporate
And that's
those.
what- Who made the original motion?
Commissioner Butcher and Commissioner Sanchez.
Okay.
Okay, let's roll with it again. I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Mayor, to amend that, 2019-2020 interim approval budget to, what was we going with the 10 and 3?
3%.
3%.
For general employees, 10%.
3% for the general employees and 10% for the police department.
As a cost of living adjustment, correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Commissioner.
So we need a second.
Got a motion, second.
And you say that
We have a
will,
sidebar.
James, by doing this is gonna drop us down to the 22.9%.
Mayor and Commissioners, it's estimated that it would drop our general fund reserve to 22.81%.
Got a motion, second. Any further questions? Commissioner Gandy, scratch your head. Had a motion, second. Roll call, vote, Anna.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Aye.
Commissioner Campos,
Aye.
Commissioner Gandy,
No.
Commissioner Butcher,
Aye.
and Mayor Trujillo.
Aye. Okay. Ayes have it. Thank you. Appreciate that. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to consider Resolution 2019-61, appointing representation to the Southeast Regional Transportation Planning Organization, Policy and Technical Committees, and to appoint James Williams and Wyatt Duncan as committee chairs.
Second.
Have a motion, second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
We forgot to ask, if you wanted to be appointed.
No, yes.
You've been voluntold.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we consider accounts payable.
Second.
Have a motion, second. Gary?
Your mayor and commission, in order to keep things short after this long night, I'm just stand here. If you have any questions, I'm available to answer them.
I have a question, Gary. What's the equipment for the Artesia Fire Department chief? You might be able to answer that.
Yes, sir. This was, I believe this one was for foam that we use for firefighting, as well as our, some hose, replacement hose.
Thank you. Gary, the $107,000 for Elliott Waldron abstract.
Yes, sir. That is a property purchase for the Veterans Memorial.
Okay.
I believe it's the last. Oh, okay. Almost the last.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I had.
Everybody good? Had a motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Any opposed? Ayes have it. I do have a motion.
I can make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to section 10:15-1 NMSA 1978, subsection H2 regarding limited personnel matters, subsection H8 regarding the purchase, acquisition, or disposition of real property or water rights, potential sale of city property.
Second.
Had a motion, second. Roll call, Ann.
Commissioner Gandy,
Aye.
Commissioner Campos,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanchez, Commissioner Butcher,
Aye.
and Mayor Trujillo.
Aye. We are in closed session.
Section 10-15-1, NMSA 1978, and no matter discussed other than what was listed in the closed session.
Second.
Have a motion, second, roll call.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Aye.
Commissioner Gandy,
Aye.
Commissioner Butcher,
Aye.
Commissioner Campos,
Aye.
and Mayor